Welcome to Front Office Pros. Today, we're going to be talking about all things training camp. That's right, most training camps have now opened. We're going to be talking about the most prominent battles and which ones we think are hidden gems and draft picks for your drafts. In this episode, we're going to be going through a rapid fire through the most, like we said, prominent, prevalent, whatever word you want to use, training camp battles. So we're just going to go quick. Joe and I are going to talk about which guy we feel like could be a gem, which could be a trap. Starting off with the Buffalo Bills wide receiver 1, we've got Khalil Shakir, Josh Palmer, and Keon Coleman. Joe, what are your thoughts here? What do you think could win that battle? And are they ultimately a trap or a possible gem?
Yeah, it's interesting. I would probably of the list between Khalil Shakir, Josh Palmer, Keon Coleman. I lean Khalil Shakir, even though like I see the path for Coleman and Josh Palmer for the deeper targets. I just think from a more consistent basis, I think Shakir will be that guy. Think he could be a value there.
I'm going to go with the hidden gem and for fantasy football. This is with Josh Palmer. Look, I'm buying the bait on this guy. I know I am, and I did the same thing to Curtis Samuel, but you have to understand he plays a certain part of the offense. I think they'll have a plan for him, and I think he has a chance, snowball's chance maybe, to lead the team in targets.
Lead the team in targets? No way. That is insane.
Who's going to lead it? Keon Coleman? You and I both are not on the Keon Coleman train.
I mean, I think Keon Coleman should, but I think Shakir could just lead the team in targets. He seems to be the consistent guy. Allen looks to, looks his way over the middle and stuff. I mean, in all honesty, like as high as the Bills took Keon Coleman, it really should be him. I just don't know if he's quite ready to take that next step yet.
You know who led the team in targets last year?
I would assume
Shakir with 100.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then Coleman with 57. And Kincaid was 75. Kincaid would have been an interesting one to add in here, but we're talking about wide receivers. Going to the next one, Patriots running back 1. Is it going to be Ramondre Stevenson or Travion Henderson?
I mean, depth chart-wise, I think it's going to be Ramondre Stevenson. And I think, unfortunately, Ramondre Stevenson is going to cut into more of the workload of Travion Henderson than people would like.
So you think Henderson's a trap?
Yeah,
because people are going to get enamored by that.
I think he could be just because of how high he's going. I mean, he's one of the highest drafted New England Patriots and a part of that offense. And like I said, I think you're just going to ultimately be disappointed with a little bit of how much Stevenson could be involved there.
Right now, going ahead of an auction drafts, going ahead of Quinshon Judkins, Isaiah Pacheco, Javonte Williams, those type of players. I kind of agree with you, honestly. I mean, for that value, it's not like you're spending that much money. But as we know in auction leagues, you might spend way more than just that price. So I think he's probably more of a trap too, because I think someone could, just because they feel like he could be the next Jahmyr Gibbs, so they're going to spend up to maybe $8, $9, $10. Don't know if that's worth it.
Yeah, and I mean, he could be. He still is that explosive player. Just from an opportunity standpoint, and if he really is going to win the battle or not, I still think, there's a place for Ramondre in this offense.
All right, next battle, we got wide receiver 2 for the Baltimore Ravens. Got DeAndre Hopkins versus Rashad Bateman. What do you think about that, Joe? Heavy hitter here.
Yeah, heavy hitter. I mean, I think Bateman should be the wide receiver 2. I just don't know how much Hopkins has left. I mean, watching him with the Kansas City Chiefs last year wasn't that impressive. So I mean, I think the question with Bateman is, health is been a big part of it with him. So I think he has a potential, if he can stay on the field, to be a gem for you.
I'm going to go with Hopkins. I actually think Hopkins, he's at $0 right now. I think he could be somewhat of a gem. I think that he may get a lot of red zone targets in Baltimore. And depending on Mark Andrews and kind of what his involvement is in the offense, I don't know. I could see Lamar looking Hopkins' way. So I actually the Baltimore Ravens receivers haven't really been something that you really want to begin with. But at the same time, I'm trying to think, has there really ever been a receiver like Hopkins that Lamar's had during his tenure as a Baltimore Raven?
I don't know. It's possible. I feel like, for the most part, they've had a bunch of young guys, but it's the Raven thing to do to kind of bring in these wily old veteran players.
It's true. All right, let's head over to the Browns QB1 battle. We've got quarterback Joe Flacco, quarterback Kenny Pickett, quarterback Dylan Gabriel, and then even Shedeur Sanders. So this was a tough one because we could talk about depth chart. I think none of these, unless you're in a very deep league, none of these guys are going to get drafted in your fantasy football drafts. However, maybe we can spin it to say, are the weapons that are affected in Cleveland, will they then be gems or are they trap picks based on the quarterback you choose? Because I feel like that might be a better angle here.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And, for those other pieces, you want Joe Flacco to be the starter. In my eyes, I think, we've seen.
You think he will be?
I think Flacco will be to start. The question is how many games does he ultimately play before maybe they let, one of these young guys, spin it out there and give him a shot and see what they have in him. But I think to start the season, I think they'll go with Joe Flacco, and then I feel like you'll get some, hidden gems, whether that's, Jerry Jeudy or Cedric Tillman, who you and I both like.
What about David Njoku too? He did pretty well with Flacco as well.
Yeah, and Njoku's in the mix as well. Yep.
Yeah. I don't know what the Browns' pathway here is. Are they trying to see what they have? Do they start a guy like Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders? There's a lot of buzz around Gabriel. Does he get the job? Do they try to no, we got to win games, so they're going to roll out Flacco? I don't know. It's a hard read right now to say who's going to win. I don't know. Maybe I'd lean Gabriel. I don't know, honestly. With the buzz that's going on with the camp right now, at this point, unless we know for sure who the quarterback is, which more than likely we will, I think the Browns team in general are trap picks. I think I would avoid the entire offense.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wouldn't. I'd be willing to roll the dice on him if Flacco's the guy.
Okay, well, let's talk about another Cleveland Browns battle. Running back one, we got Quinshon Judkins, the rookie, who's been in some legal trouble. Jerome Ford or Dylan Sampson, the other rookie.
Yeah, just because of the legal trouble, and I just don't know what's going on there. I'll say, at least to start the season, I think it'll be Jerome Ford. If Judkins is suspended and whatever happens, he hasn't signed a contract yet. So he can't even participate in training camp at the moment. So I'll go with Jerome Ford there.
Do you think that in some ways, I like Sampson. I'll put this out there. I think Sampson.
Yeah,
is the guy
I like Sampson too. I just don't see them giving him the opportunities and giving him all. I think maybe he gets the passing downs, but I think Jerome Ford will be out there at least first and second.
Yeah, and honestly, of the three, obviously not condoning the actions that took place, but Judkins is the guy you want.
100.
Do you take the $1 flyer and see what happens if he ends up getting on the field or not?
Yeah, I definitely think he's worth the $1 flyer. And by the time that we draft, heck, we're recording this late July here. By the time we draft, it'll be August. We should have more idea of what's going on in that court situation. But yeah, and important to say, we are strictly just talking about his on the field play and what his fantasy impact could be, and that's where I do think he is worth the $1 flyer and just see what happens. If he's suspended and misses a few games, so be it.
All right, let's go over to the Steelers running back one. You got Caleb Johnson versus Jaylen Warren. We could probably go through this pretty quickly. I think it's Caleb Johnson, and it's a slam dunk. The only thing is it a gem or a trap? For the price, I would say it's more. I don't. Me, I'm not the biggest fan of his. But for the value right now, let's see. What is he going for right now on auction value?
$6. He, at that price, he's going to be a gem.
Yeah, I mean, although I like Travion Henderson better in Dynasty, I think you can't argue. I mean, it'd be hard to say that Henderson will have a better year than Caleb Johnson this year, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Caleb Johnson will be a gem at $6. I mean, if you get him at $6, I mean, that's an absolute steal.
All right, let's stick with the Steelers. Steelers tight end 1. Not the most glamorous battle here, but Pat Freiermuth and the now, well, beloved Jonnu Smith in the eyes of Arthur Smith. Go ahead and trade for him, which I don't really know why they felt the need to do that, but nevertheless. What do you do with that tight end room now with Jonnu Smith and Pat Freiermuth?
Yeah, I feel like the tight end room is a bit of a trap. I think technically Freiermuth will be the tight end 1, but that's only because they won't use Jonnu Smith like a tight end. Like I think they're going to put Jonnu Smith in the slot, and he's going to become like their slot receiver because that's where they don't really have somebody there.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think. I mean, again, this is the type of thing where neither of them probably get in. Depending on your size of league, neither of them are going to get drafted. So we can go pretty quick with this. I'll lean towards Jonnu on here just because he has this higher upside, but I think they're both going to basically cancel each other out at this point.
Yeah, like I don't think like Jonnu is going to get hyper targeted the way he did it, with Miami and that dink and dunk offense that he was involved in. So I don't know what to expect from Jonnu, and I definitely think it's going to have a big effect on Pat Freiermuth, unfortunately.
All right, so head over to the Texans wide receiver 2. This is a crowded room here, Joe. We got Jaden Higgins, the rookie, Christian Kirk, the journeyman who came from Jacksonville, and you've got Jalen Knoll, who was also drafted from Iowa State. A lot of options now for C.J. Stroud. Nico Collins is obviously the number 1 guy. What are your thoughts on this tight end wide receiver 2 group?
Yeah, for the wide receiver 2, I think it's going to be Jaden Higgins. Think Kirk will slot in as the wide receiver 3 and be more of that slot guy. But yeah, I think Higgins is going to be the other guy that you want in this offense.
I think I'd like to. I'm not going to be a wimp and not give an answer. I would like to see how this kind of shapes out over the course of training camp. This is one where I keep my eye on it. I actually kind of think I lead towards Knoll. I think Knoll actually is similar type of player.
What is with your Jaden Higgins hate, man? You just
He's a similar big-bodied guy to Nico Collins. To me, Knoll is going to be the replacement for. Why can't I think of his name?
Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs.
Tank Dell, thank you. I think he's going to be your Tank Dell type of player, and we saw what he was.
Right, but last year, I mean, if like. He wasn't nearly as good because Stephon Diggs was taken over as the wide receiver 2 on the team. And if that's going to be the Jaden Higgins role, I want that. And he's only currently going for $1. Nah, Christian Kirk, man. He's in the past. I wouldn't want him.
Let's talk about his former team, Jaguars, running back 1. This is probably one of the more, I'd say, important training camp battles here with Travis Etienne. The guy who's been there for a long time, Tank Bigsby, who showed some flashes last year, and Bajdal Tutin, who they drafted in the past draft here. What are your thoughts on this group?
Yeah, I think there's potential for Travis Etienne to be a gem this year.
I agree with you 100%.
Everyone's fading him after last year. I think Liam Cohen's coming in. His current value is $2, which is extremely low after being, 2023 season. Was in the top 5 in terms of fantasy running backs on the season. And, I got to see what Liam Cohen did with a guy like Bucky Irving. I think there's chance for a rebound year here with Etienne.
I agree. I don't know. Sometimes people swing like a pendulum swing, and people were really high. You're talking about Etienne was going for $30, $40 last year. They got burned. People are now saying he's $2. That's crazy. Yeah, I think that's an unbelievable value.
Yep,
and honestly, Tutin was having some fumble issues even in minicamp. I want to see even Liam Cohen or someone from the staff, was kind of making some like critical comments as it relates to him. Which again, how much you read in the coach speak, I think it's a consideration. It's not everything, but it's a consideration. So, and as we try to figure out, right, we're trying to understand who's going to be the starter of the depth chart, who's going to get the most snap share, so we can make the best fantasy decision. I think Etienne's the guy I'm going with as well. So going over to the Colts quarterback one, this is another one where you probably aren't going to be drafting the Colts quarterback unless you are maybe a Colts fan or you think that there's a huge upside here. Got Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. Maybe, again, similar thing that we did with the Browns quarterback. What do you think as far as who you think the quarterback will be, and then will it be a trap or a gem for the likes of Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, who's a favorite for a lot of people, and Adonai Mitchell?
Yeah, this is a really tough one because it's like I know Anthony Richardson's coming back from that shoulder injury. People are saying Daniel Jones was in the lead, but Richardson's cleared now. Seems like he's all right. So does the pendulum kind of swing back to them giving a chance and on the guy that they spent a top 5 draft pick on? But either way, I think if Richardson is the starter, he's a trap for like Michael Pittman and possibly some other guys. But that's where I feel like, Josh Downs, I think he excelled with Richardson in there in those downfield passes. So I would say I'd be more interested in Michael Pittman if Daniel Jones was the quarterback.
I think ultimately, and maybe I'm wrong about this, this is a really tough one. My gut tells me Daniel Jones wins the job. But if Daniel Jones wins the job, that basically tells Anthony Richardson, you're done. I mean, maybe, Daniel Jones gets injured, similar to what Andy Dalton had happened, and then all of a sudden Bryce Young gets another shot, which he wouldn't have otherwise, and then he took it and ran with it. So maybe something like that happens, but it's like, do they want to fully give up on Richardson? I don't know. He's going to be on a short leash regardless. I'm with you, though. Pittman and Richardson aren't a good combo. I'd rather have Adonai Mitchell or Josh Downs if it's Richardson. If it's Daniel Jones, I'm more interested in Pittman. But honestly, I think they're all a trap. I'm not really interested in the whole offense. Maybe, you want a guy like Jonathan Taylor. He's pretty consistent. But, maybe Tyler Warren. I mean, that would be somewhat of an interesting, consideration at tight end. Depending on, Richardson and Daniel Jones might want to use him as a security blanket. Yeah,
I do agree with that. I mean, it's really Jonathan Taylor maybe taking a flyer on Warren, but I mean the Colts wide receivers are going for dirt cheap. I mean, you're looking at Michael Pittman's at $2. So I don't know. I mean, whether or not they actually turn out to be good values or not is to be determined.
All right, Joe, let's head over to your team now, the Denver Broncos running back one. You've got J.K. Dobbins and the rookie R.J. Harvey. A lot of people are excited about Harvey, a lot of buzz surrounding him. What does our resident Broncos fan have to say about this?
Yeah. Well, as far as the depth chart goes, I think J.K. Dobbins will be listed as the RB1. Sean Payton doesn't like to just roll out the rookies as the starter on the depth chart. But I still think out of the two, R.J. Harvey is going to be the one that you want out of the backfield. He's just the more explosive player. J.K. Dobbins, he started the year off really strong with the Chargers and had a ton of opportunities, but ended up, getting injured. And then when he came back, just didn't have the same type of breakout runs. And even, he lowered his average yards per carry there as well. So I still think Harvey's going to be the guy you want there.
I think that Harvey's a trap. I do think that Harvey's the more explosive player. Like you said, Sean Payton likes to utilize multiple running backs, more often two, but last year he used a whole stable of running backs. For Harvey, you've got to hope that Dobbins eventually gets injured. And I would view Harvey similar to the Bucky Irving rise. What I mean by that is early on in the year, Bucky Irving really wasn't doing anything, and then he caught the world on fire, and he became who he was. I could see Harvey, those who are really excited about him, first 6 weeks of the season, he does very little to what you justified paying for him. Some will get antsy and just cut him and say, forget it, like he's toast. Come week 9 through 14, I think he could just go off like a rocket. So I think caution with him. I think he could be a gem he could be a trap. It just really depends on how others get caught up in the bidding process with him, because he's just a hot name. He could really, go for a lot of money. So it's one of those things. Any of these guys, to a degree, can be a gem or a trap depending on their price.
Yeah.
But he's a guy I definitely keep my eye on. But I have no interest in Dobbins.
I mean, I still think Dobbins is worth a $2 flyer, and at least he gives you some. I think he'll be very valuable. He's going to be valuable as long as he's on the field. Question is how long.
All right, head over to the LA Chargers. We've got the Chargers running back one discussion. Now, we could probably talk about this for a good 5 minutes because you and I are going to be disagreeing, I think, very strongly on this. Najee Harris versus Omarion Hampton. So why don't you tell the people, Joe, where do you stand?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is I think Hampton's a trap. I'll just say that. Just similarly to like the Trevion Henderson standpoint, like Najee Harris is going to be very involved in this offense, and he's a capable of running back, a guy that's had 1,000 yards every year, hasn't missed a game. And now he goes to the Chargers team that likes to run the ball, and people are just so amped up for Omarion Hampton. They're so excited on him. They're so high on him. And yet, like, Najee's there, and I just don't see him just being displaced.
Well, I don't know if you've read the recent reports that even
I don't care about this whole eye thing from the firework accident. I think by the time the season rolls around,
Jim Harbaugh literally just said that he may not even show up at training camp. Did you see that?
We'll see. I mean, who knows, man? I don't trust any of these coaches.
I think you're underplaying this or selling this. I think it's a much bigger deal. He's not going to have any opportunity in this offense in training camp to get those practice reps, to get in the game shape. We don't know how significant this eye injury is. This is Hampton all the way, and this is not. He's a gem in my mind. He's no trap. Now the only thing is, he's another guy that people really really like, and the price that they have him on, good luck. I don't. If you're like, oh man, I'm holding out to the end of the draft because I'm going to get him for $13, you're wrong. You better nominate him early and see where people are at with him. Decide whether you want him for that price or move on. Because if you're just going to wait, I'll tell you right now, he's not going for that amount. No way.
Right. So, do you think I could get Najee Harris for $2?
I think he probably. Well, we don't know yet, but I think he probably goes for like $4. What is he saying? Where's he? Is he $2 right now?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I think he probably goes for like $4.
Yeah, sign me up for that, man. He's going to return on that value with such ease.
Interesting. Well, let's head over to the Chargers wide receiver 2. Ladd McConkey's the guy, but will Justin Herbert be able to support a second wide receiver for fantasy? You've got Quentin Johnston, who, has had the dropsies, a lot of disappointment with him. And you got Trey Harris. Now, Mike Williams retired, kind of paving the way for these two guys to really are kind of front and center for that job. Which way are you leaning on this, Joe?
I mean, I like Trey Harris a lot. I'd like to see Trey Harris as the wide receiver 2. We've seen enough of Quentin Johnston. We just know who he is at this point. He's an inconsistent guy, gets injured. Like you mentioned, had the dropsies, already starting once again in training camp with him and those dropsies. Yeah. But to be honest with you, I think the Chargers wide receiver core as a whole could just be a trap, just because I just don't know. I just don't know if the passing volume is going to be there to really return on what you want. Like, everyone's going to go for crazy over Ladd McConkey. I just don't know. Like, his opportunities happened because the Chargers just, couldn't run the ball. So the passing volume went up at the second half of the year. But if you look early on, their passing volume was very small. And Jim Harbaugh wants to run the ball. Now he's got Hampton and Najee Harris to do so. So I'm not sure if you really want any of these guys.
Interesting. I don't know what training camp stuff you've been watching, because I've been seeing Quentin Johnston making really good plays, and there's a lot of buzz surrounding him in camp. I actually lean towards Johnston on this one. I think that year 2 in the offense, I think that he'd be interesting. I think I would consider a $1 flyer for him. How much is he saying that he's going for? He's probably $1. Maybe even $0. I don't think he's probably that much at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't think he's much at all.
Who's he? We could find him on? Oh no, yeah, $1. Yeah. So Trey Harris, He needs to develop his route running. I don't think he's going to be able to be this player out of the gate. His time in Ole Miss, I think that's gonna impact him.
What's going to impact him? How easily he's able to separate from DBs?
No, Joe. I mean, the Ole Miss offense. You talk about pro style offense or them learning these type of things. He's a former quarterback, transitioning to wide receiver. Obviously, he was a great player at Ole Miss, but I'm just saying, he's not a turn the key ready type of guy. I think he's going to have to develop over time here.
So you mean like the guy that was first in yards per route run, first in yards?
Oh boy, he's pulling out the stats now.
Second in yards per route run versus zone at 4.05. And also first in the nation in receiving yards per game at 128.8 yards. Yeah.
Now all you gotta do is just grab this mic here and then drop it and then walk off. We'll see if I'm wrong. I'm just telling you. I mean, I don't disagree with you though. This is not a room I'm that interested in.
Right.
Let's keep it moving, Joe. Going over to the Cowboys, running back one, we got Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, and Jaden Blue. This is going to be you're in a tough predicament, Joe, talking about one of your former favorite players here. Are you going to be biased against him or biased for him?
No, I mean, I got to be biased for him. And it's going to be Javonte Williams out of this backfield. I mean, I don't know what Miles Sanders has left. The reports so far for Jaden Blue have not been very good at all. So yeah, Javonte, and honestly, nobody's that excited
though.
Yeah, I think he could turn out to be a gem. I mean, just because like you're not spending that much money on him, and even though like I don't know how much he's going to do with those opportunities, but he's going to get the opportunity to be the number one back in a Dallas Cowboys offense as long as Dak Prescott is able to stay healthy. Should be somewhat high scoring. So with those opportunities, I mean, he's definitely worth a flyer.
I think he's a gem. I really do for the price. Yeah. I mean, look what Rico Dowdle did, and who was, people didn't really know who Rico Dowdle was. So to me, I'm a big fan of Javonte Williams.
Yeah, I mean, he's currently listed at $4. I mean, he's worth the $4 swing.
100%. All right, heading over to the Giants quarterback one. Again, similar story. These guys aren't going to be really fantasy relevant, but depending on who it is, how does that affect the Giants' options? Really, Blake Neighbors, really nobody else. Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, Jackson Dart. Thoughts there?
Yeah, boy. I think if I was the Giants, like I would just roll Jackson Dart out there and see what you have and let him start the whole season, go through the growing pains. I just don't see the value of rolling out like Winston or Russell Wilson. Why not roll out the rookie? But I do think Russell Wilson will get the start. That's probably why they brought him in there. Yeah. And as far as that goes, like anyone that goes over the middle of the field, you're not going to want. And it's just going to be, you want the Malik Neighbors stuff. And unfortunately, for a guy like Wan'Dale Robinson, I don't know how much play he's going to have because Russell Wilson doesn't really throw the ball over the middle unless he's going to run some quick out routes or something.
I think it's going to be Russell Wilson. I think that Jackson Dart, in a similar vein, I think he's raw. I don't think they're going to want to just throw him in there. Even a guy like Josh Allen didn't start week one. I think that they're going to wait until he's ready. He's going to buy them time, Dayball and Shane, that is, that I think they're going to be able to have another year. I think towards later on, you'll see Dart will play this year, but I think starting off, especially with all the money they gave Wilson. I mean, they gave him a ton of money. You're not giving that type of money.
A lot of it's earned through incentives, but it's still they gave him a good chunk of change, though.
Wasn't it like 15-something million or something like that? It was a lot of money.
Yeah, I believe he can earn up to like 23.5 via a bunch of incentives or whatever. Yeah.
So I think it's going to be Wilson. So let's have it. Oh, go ahead.
I don't disagree, but like I said, if it was me personally, I think you should just roll the young kid out there and let him go through the growing pains.
If it is Wilson, which I'm thinking, do you think then Neighbors is a trap or a gem? I think it's kind of a trap.
I think Neighbors will be okay. I think Russell Wilson can throw the ball down the field, and I think he could support him.
But at 52, though, I mean, you've got guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, around that area.
Yeah, I mean,
They're
if you got
just
to pay
safer
that,
people.
yeah, if you got to pay that price, that I agree, that would be a trap. I'm not that excited to pay $52 for Neighbors.
All right, let's go over to the Giants running back room. You've got Tyrone Tracy and then Cam Scatabo. Where do you stand on these guys?
Yeah, it's a tough thing. I think, Tracy could get it out of the gate, but I wouldn't be shocked if Scadabo's able to kind of take that number one spot from him.
I like Scatabo. I think he's going to be the guy. The only thing is he's a bruiser, and will he be able to do that in the NFL, or was that more so when he was in college? He's like a bowling ball. But the thing is, he's a good receiver too. That's the thing. He can be a 3-down back, where Tracy's just kind of more of a receiving entity. So I like Scatabo.
Yeah, I mean, Tracy
I think he's
had
a
his
gem.
runs, but I don't know. Tracy had a pretty good year last year, but I do think, Scatabo probably has the more upside there.
I mean, Scadabo's $2 and Tracy's $3, so Tracy's the one leading the charge right now.
Yeah, I don't know. It just that backfield, almost wonder. I think they kind of hurt each other because I don't know how that's playing time split's going to work out.
All right, next training camp battle, which honestly is probably one of the most important that we're going to be talking about here in this episode. So if you stuck along with us this far, it's a good thing you did. That's going to be the Bears wide receiver 1. You got DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, and they also drafted Luther Burden. This is now a suddenly crowded room. It was crowded last year, I guess, as well, because they had Keenan Allen. So now you're replacing Keenan Allen and Burden, but you also they drafted Colston Loveland as well. So where do you stand on these guys? If you look at prices for these guys, DJ Moore is at 17. Then you got Roma Dunze at 7. And then Luther Burden, I think, is like $1.
Yeah, I think the gem of the room, if you watch past videos, I probably know which way I'm leaning, but I'll go a Dunze for the $7. I think he's got that rapport with Caleb, and I think we see second-year breakouts at the wide receiver position. I think there's a chance for him to do that in this offense.
Yeah, boy, I think it could go either way, honestly. Maybe not Burden, although they say Burden could be that Amon-Ra St. Brown role, which kind of scares me. That could he become that? And then if that's the case, then he's really the guy. I think it's a Dunze. I think you're right. I mean, Caleb Williams and a Dunze seem to have a really good rapport, and at that price of $7, I feel like that's more of a gem. I mean, DJ Moore, you just don't get that excited over. I mean, to pay $17 for him, but I'll tell you what, you're not getting Roma Dunze for $7. He's going to probably go more in the 15s, I think.
Yeah, probably just like, DJ Moore probably gets a little elevated over the 17, probably is a guy that's the last of a tier. People get concerned and, they'll spend a few dollars more just to get him and probably feel good about, one of their wide receivers.
All right, now we got Packers wide receiver 1. So we've got the rookie Matthew Golden versus Jaden Reed. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I'll go Jaden Reed. I think I don't think anything's going to change. Like, I still think the Green Bay's offense, like Jaden Reed's going to be the one guy that they actually like manufacture touches for. And then Golden's going to be that hit or miss guy kind of taking over that Christian Watson role deep down the field for them.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Golden is actually higher. So Matthew Golden is at $4, whereas Jaden Reed's at $2. So of the Green Bay receivers, actually Golden is the higher one right now. I would agree with you. I think I lean towards Reed as well. The only problem with Reed is he doesn't play 100% of the snaps. In fact, he kind of plays a lower percentage of the snaps. So I think it's a trap altogether. I don't really have much interest in the Packers offense in general. So to me, it's an avoid.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not very excited about that wide receiver room as a whole.
Now, wide receiver room that you and I are both excited about is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver room. We've got Mike Evans as the 1, but now you got a crowded group with Chris Godwin, Emeka Egbuka, and then Jalen McMillan. So where do you stand on these guys, Joe?
Yeah, at the moment I'll say Egbuka just because I don't know as far as where Godwin is. It doesn't sound like he's progressing that well. as to being able to play, week one. That seems to be kind of iffy. So I'm not sure like when Godwin's going to be able to get on the field. So I'll give this slight edge to Egbuka at the moment.
Jalen McMillan's $1. Emeka Egbuka is $1. And then Chris Godwin's $6. So we're not talking about a lot. In an offense that had a lot of volume last year. So I'm you put a bug in my ear, and that bug is just taking over. Emeka Egbuka has been significantly on the rise for me, and so I think he's a gem all day long. Well, I get caught up, and that's where I got to stop thinking about this. But I get caught up with like you signed Chris Godwin, and Chris Godwin, as you tell me all the time, how productive he was before he got injured. He was a wide receiver 1 by a long shot. So it's like he was leading the league at that point. He was taking the league by storm. He had to do another procedure on his ankle. I think they put him on the PUP. They say he could be back, but I don't know. It sounds like it may be more in October this guy comes into play. So, and is he really going to be himself? There's a reason. I don't necessarily understand the reasoning behind signing Godwin unless you're just trying to keep your guys. It seems like the drafting of Egbuka was really possibly a changing of the guard and really having him be involved. So I personally like Egbuka. I think it's a great value.
Yeah, him for $1 versus Godwin, who's going for $5 more coming off of that injury, and that's not progressing the best. Yeah, Egbuka is the gem.
Okay, how about the Cardinals running back 1? This might be a slam dunk for some, but you've got Trey Benson, the former rookie, and then James Conner. James Conner is going for way more. He's going for $15, whereas if you were to draft a Trey Benson, he's at $1. So it's a huge difference. But Trey Benson did start showing some flashes here. I think most people would say, of course, Conner's better. But is Conner a trap? Are you better off going with a Benson and who could be a gem?
No, I don't think James Conner's a trap. He's I think, clearing the way the RB1 for the Cardinals. And, Benson would have to, show something really significant, I think, to eat into that role. To me, the only way Benson's relevant is if James Conner gets hurt.
Yeah, I do agree with you as well. Even though Benson did show some flashes towards the end, I think it's Conner's backfield pretty much on lock.
Yeah.
All right, our last training camp battle here. We went through a rapid fire, like I told you. 49ers wide receiver 1. This is an interesting one. Brandon Ayuk comments recently were kind of interesting by John Lynch saying he's nowhere near being ready. I don't know. I think they're getting some buyer's remorse for giving Ayuk that contract. I think they kind of wonder if they should have traded him, but nevertheless. Then you got Juwan Jennings, who rumors are saying that he's demanding for a trade, but Kyle Shanahan came out and said, no, that's not the case. And then you got Ricky Pearsall, who was put on the PUP, I think was for some sort of ankle or something, but they're saying,
hamstring.
It'll only be hamstring. And he says, it'll only be a few days, and then he'll be back. This is an odd room, Joe. Obviously Deebo Samuel's no more. Brock Purdy's going to have to, target somebody unless it's George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey like crazy. What are your thoughts on this 49ers wide receiver 1?
Yeah, so long as that, Juwan Jennings plays for them, and he wants some more money before he does play for them. I would take Jennings out of this group. Brandon Ayuk, guys coming back from ACL injuries, just typically they don't do well coming back in their first year. Kind of just avoiding him. And Pearsall, was looking really interesting, but now this hamstring issue pops up. Kind of nervous about that. So, maybe it's taking a flyer on. I know a lot of people are kind of getting excited about Jacob Coing, and is it possibly Jacob Coing season? But I think out of these guys, I'd give it to Jennings. Brandon
Ayuk for $1, Ricky Pearsall for $2, Juwan Jennings for $4. I'm gonna go with the upside of Ricky Pearsall. I think any one of these could be a gem though, just based on the price.
Yeah, somebody's gonna pan out, man. Like we've seen it, and especially when one of them was hurt, with the big games out of Juwan Jennings came at the expense of, Deebo not being on the field or Ayuk not being there as well. So we've just seen it. And now, for sure, without Deebo Samuel, somebody's going to benefit. So it is worth taking a flyer on one of these guys.
So that does it for this episode. We went through what we believe was the most important training camp battles to discuss as you're going to be monitoring training camp, reading articles, listening to podcasts, watching videos about sorting out who it is that you should draft in your upcoming fantasy football draft. If you haven't done so already, check out our most recent episode. We went over our fantasy rookie auction guide where we talked about who's worth the money, who should you spend for, and who should you avoid. So you want to check that out. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time.